Hi gorgeous! Today's video is a battle of the high-end setting powders. And this video has been highly requested since doing the drugstore version. If you happen to miss that video, I will have the drugstore one linked below for you. But today we're talking all about high-end powders. I personally have been looking for a new high-end powder because they discontinued, well, they didn't discontinue, they repackaged the La Mer powder. And have you seen the price that they are now selling this for? No thank you. I love this powder. It's a great performing powder, but not for the price that they are charging us for it now. It's insane. So I put 9 powders to the test for you. I'll be showing you what they look like after wearing them for 10 hours, giving you my thoughts on longevity and application, and letting you know if they're worth getting or not. And before we get started, for reference, I have an oily complexion. I live here in Florida. It's really hard to find a powder that will last long on my skin and keep me feeling matte by the end of the day. Additionally, I did not go out and buy each of the powders that I am sharing with you today. So I'm not going to be showing you packaging for each one. What I did was I went to my favorite website ever for high-end samples, and that is schwa.com. It's a subscription service where you can try out high-end products before buying them. They also offer you the ability to purchase samples to try out, and so that's what I did. I bought samples of each of these powders to try for $5 a piece, saved a buttload of money, and I wasn't wasting product. So if you're interested in checking out Schwa, I'll have their website linked for you below. Not affiliated, I just really love them. And one more thing before we get into the video, I did use the same foundation under every single one of these powders to keep it an even testing ground, and that was the Kevyn Aucoin Sensual Skin Fluid Foundation. And this is one of those foundations that goes on me for upwards of 16 hours. So I felt like it was a really great one to test underneath each of these powders. First powder I have to share with you is one that was really highly requested for me to test in the drugstore version of this video. And it's not really drugstore, it's not really high-end, it's more middle ground. This is a powder from Soap and Glory. This is one of the few products that I did buy the full size of for this video, so I'll show you the packaging here. I really liked the application with this one. You do have to be careful with the application, and I wrote down here that the fluffier the brush, the less cakey it will look. So if you use a dense brush to apply it, it can start to look cakey. And after wearing it for 11 hours, it still not only felt matte on my skin, but I did not have any shine breakthrough with this one whatsoever. So I was very pleased with this one. And I think it is the cheapest powder that I'm reviewing for you out of the bunch today. With the exception of this one, I forgot about this one. This one may be a little cheaper than the Soap and Glory one, I'll have to check. This one is the RMCA No Color Powder. This was also another one that was very highly requested. On initial application, it did not leave a white cast, which I was very pleased to see because sometimes with white powders you can get that white cast. And after wearing it for a straight 11 hours, it did unfortunately show some breakthrough and did look rather oily on my skin. It was very shiny around my nose, on the cheeks, and I was very disappointed by this powder, not one that was my favorite out of the bunch. Next up is the Kevyn Aucoin Gossamer Powder. Now this is one that I've had for about 10 months, so I do have packaging to share with you here of how it looks. I really like how they designed their packaging with this one. It makes it easy to use a brush or a beauty blender for application. The powder is very finely milled. It blends into the skin nicely, and after wearing it for 10 hours, it still looks really great on my skin. The Chanel Sheer Powder. I love Chanel products, most specifically their foundations when they don't discontinue them. So I was excited about trying out their powder as part of this video. But what I found is that after wearing it for 10 hours, there was some shine breakthrough with this one, specifically on the nose and forehead. But it was more glowy looking rather than being grease ball looking, so it was manageable. And my face still felt semi-matte to the touch. Tom Ford's finishing powder. I was a little scared to try this one for the price point alone because I looked at it and said, if I love this, it's going to be expensive. Well, the application was just fabulous, I have to tell you. It's a very sheer powder, blends in so nicely on top of foundation, and after wearing it for 10 hours, Oh man, I have to tell you, it kept everything intact. My face looked spectacular at the end of the day. It didn't slide around, and my face still felt very matte to the touch too, on top of that. So I may have to break down and buy the full size of this one. Clé de Peau Loose Powder. Clé de Peau is one of those brands where it can be a hit or a miss for me. I've tried out some really great things from them, but I've also tried out some stuff that just was not all that it was cracked up to be. So I went into testing this powder not really knowing what to expect. This does melt into your skin upon initial application, but it does not last anywhere near as well as it should for a $105 powder. It looked rather dewy after 10 hours. It felt rather dewy on my skin after 10 hours. Didn't look horrible and it didn't slide around so much, but it's just not my favorite, especially at this price point. And as a comparison, the Tom Ford finishing powder is $30 cheaper, and that performed much better. Givenchy Loose Powder. I've only tried a couple of things from this brand before, so I went into this not knowing what to expect. I did like the initial application with it. It was undetectable on the skin, and after wearing it for 10 hours, it held up beautifully and it was matte to the touch. I had no shine on my face. It didn't fall apart. It didn't move around. So this is another really excellent high-end powder to try. Then I tried one from YSL. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce all of those words. I'll just have it here on the screen. It applied very nicely, blended into the skin beautifully, and it felt matte after 10 hours. Did not fall apart. It did have a slight dewy look to it, but it wasn't overtly shiny. And honestly, this has become one that I have been using on an everyday basis since testing it. I'm wearing it today, actually. I love it. Last powder I tested for you as part of this video is the one from Marc Jacobs. Now, this has a very lightweight application. It sinks into the skin instantly, blends in nicely, and it wears extremely well. After 10 hours, my face still felt matte and looked matte. So extremely happy with this one too. A lot of really excellent finds for you in today's video. So my top favorites that I cannot recommend to you enough are the ones from Soap & Glory, Tom Ford's finishing powder, the one from YSL, Marc Jacobs, Givenchy, but I do not recommend the ones from Chanel, Clé de Peau, or RMCA. Sadly. If I had to narrow it down even further, if you were going to ask me which two powders are you going to buy right away, I'm going to have to tell you it's the YSL one and the Tom Ford one. Those two, love. So if you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this in the future. And if you have a high-end powder that performs for you like concrete, feel free to share it below. We'd love to hear your recommendations too. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.